A new book out by ubiquitous author and one-time media critic Michael Wolff started making thunderous noise this week, even before anyone had really read it. Wolff was apparently given unprecedented access to the White House, but not everyone is convinced he got the story straight in his book, Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House.
It was lead story material. One-time White House strategist Steve Bannon had turned on the first family.
In an explosive new book, Bannon calls the sit-down treasonous, unpatriotic, and he says Team Trump, quote, should have called the FBI immediately.
The nitty-gritty details about Bannon were so compelling, NBC was well into its report before mentioning it actually came from Michael Wolff's new book.
Fire and Fury, reportedly based on more than 200 interviews.
But some of the media are turning on Wolff. First, wondering how he got to be a fly on the wall in the first place.
How was he granted so much access, and did he in fact speak with the president?
In a tweet, President Trump said he offered zero access to Wolff. And in his own circles, Wolff has been called a provocateur and polemicist. And the New York Times' Maggie Haberman calls Wolff loose with the facts.
But he believes he deals in larger truths and narratives. He gets basic details wrong.
But speaking in his own defense this morning, Michael Wolff told the Today Show's Savannah Guthrie he used old-fashioned reporting to compile his book and stands by it.
I've written many books. I've written millions upon millions of words. I don't think there has ever been one correction.
So you stand by everything in the book, nothing made up?
Absolutely everything in the book.
A book that's bound to be a bestseller thanks to Donald Trump's protestations.
The thing I could not get over of this, when it first came out this week, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, how much attention it got. I didn't realize they were talking about a book, much like that NBC piece was a minute 50 in before they mentioned it was book. Everybody was just talking about it like it was fact. So I thought it was something Bannon had written. So I was a little slow to catch on. It was Michael Wolff, who I knew briefly in New York when he was a critic for New York Magazine. And by the way, he's been on the show. But I was stunned by the amount of attention it got. And then I felt like some of the criticism of him, maybe some of it was a little bit legitimate, but was based on jealousy, because he finagled his way into this access in the White House much the way he did when he did the profile on Rupert Murdoch. And I think they all thought he was going to be fawning and flattering. Apparently they're not familiar with his work, and then this is what they get.
Well, not only did he fawn and flatter, but he trashed much of the media kind of on Trump's behalf as a way of ingratiating himself,
including Maggie,
with people in the Trump White House. Oh, absolutely, and Brian Stelter of CNN and some others. It looks like he has pulled off quite a coup here by doing that. You know, he does have a reputation for being somewhat overreaching in his reporting, creating scenes. But the biggest news that's come out of this so far are the quotes that he got from Steve Bannon, and nobody's disputing
no
any
one.
of that.
That's the point.
Absolutely
no one.
not. So this is a major moment, and it's certainly a triumph for Michael Wolff.
One of the things that caught my attention initially, yes, there are some of these quotes that seem to be things we haven't heard before, but a lot of this, it's kind of fits into a narrative that a lot of reporters some have even reported on already. And so I think my sense was that the reason everyone jumped on it so quickly, and to the extent that they did, was because it was finally someone got it on the record, if you will, right? There were suggestions of a lot of this going on. There were suggestions that, Trump really didn't want to be president, but no one had really gotten it in this way. And I think, at least for me, that's what caught my attention, that here was a lot of stuff that had been rumored about. I think some of them have been reported on, and now someone got it.
But there was also a gleeful approach on the part of the media, I thought, on all of that all this behind the stuff about Bannon and about Trump and all that. It was so the breathless reporting was almost because they wanted to believe every word.
And you're right. And I think those who have been saying the liberal media probably said that's what's been pushing this, right? They've been waiting for the smoking gun, and now someone had it.
It's been interesting. I didn't come away, as someone who consumes a lot of news and information about the Trump administration, I didn't come away from the excerpts that we've seen so far with any radically changed perspectives about what's going on. If you've been reading the New York Times and Washington Post coverage, I don't think anyone would come away with the idea that actually the White House is a smooth running machine, and it was confirmatory of a lot of things that, as you said, have already been reported. I think Wolff does have a reputation for one particular trick that he does, which is the recreation in long, in quotation marks, dialogue of scenes that he was not present for. And I think also there's a level
Bob
of...
Woodward did that too.
Well, okay, fair enough. But there's a level of fact-checking that also wasn't there. One of the first, in the first excerpt, it made a reference in which Donald Trump was claimed that he didn't know who John Boehner was after he had talked with John Boehner for multiple years. It was just not a sensible claim. I know that this can be a little bit tiresome, but I also think it's all worth putting on the record. The President of the United States had his lawyers send a cease and desist letter to an American publisher to prevent the publication of a work of journalism because he didn't like it. That is scary and something that we can't allow to be.
Which is why they moved up the publication date.
Well, I think we should also say that many people have said he'd never go through with it. I mean, I agree with you that they won't do it because it never occurred to me, but then there would be discovery on both sides, and he's not having that. I think even though people knew some of this, people who've been reading and keeping up, so a couple of things are at play. The first books after the first year of the Obama administration got a lot of attention too. Not this much because people are coming from a different space. One of the main quoters is Bannon, and Bannon is his guy, or so everybody thought. I still think he is. And so that's what's driving a lot of this. And I believe when you put the two of those things together, coming off the Roy Moore thing, where Bannon is out there saying the rest of this universe of Republicans are namby-pamby and no one stands up with the president except me. And then you read, well, we're calling her, what's he calling her, Javanka, and all the rest of the stuff in the book. Yes.
Also, I did think some things. One of the things that I found really chilling was the part about him repeating himself, that he's gone from repeating himself the same 3 stories every 30 minutes to repeating himself every 10 minutes.
It has been very
interesting. He was using words like, he's lost it.
Well,
but he heard him do it.
Well, that's why I think the Boehner thing may be real. Because it could be that he's forgotten who Boehner was. It's not that he didn't know him at all. So it does fit into that broader story.
I think it's more likely that if he did say who in response to John Boehner, I think it was more along the lines of he's dead to me. But you know, not to be missed is the description of Ivanka talking about her father's comb over. That is just you can't. I mean,
and the sexual harassment scenes in the book as well.
Hope Hicks.
So let's go back to our original part of this conversation about whether or not this is true. As as a lot of this is true, he says he has tapes. That's Michael Wolff. Some tapes. So there is that. Again, to your point, Bannon has not said I didn't say that. And even there's another guy who's been quoted who said, well, he went around and around and around, and as Lawrence O'Donnell said last night, that means he didn't say it. So
and Trump hasn't pushed back really hard.
Not really on all that.
He didn't call it fake news.
No.